Hi everybody, we're going to look at horizontal or phase shifts. So again, we're talking about our x-axis. I actually want to go back to reminding you back when we did quadratics. We talked about H and K. H shifted left or right, and it was actually opposite of what was inside here. K shifted up or down. Do you remember that? That's what's going to happen here, okay? It's opposite of what you think. So if you look here, this is shifting, instead of negative half a pi, this is going to go to the right half a pi. This is going to go to the left a half a pi. And this is going to go to the right a full pi. So if you, again, go back to our sine parent graph, go ahead and graph that real quick and get that on your, so this is at 3 pi down here, so we definitely want to go to 2 pi and 1 pi and get everything in for our parent graph. Okay, so if you look at that first one now, it says that it's shifting to the right a half a pi. So if we're at 0 and we're going to the right a half a pi, we are now at half a pi. If we're at a half a pi and we're going to the right a half a pi, we're at 1 full pi. We're at 3 halves pi, 2 pi, and now 5 halves pi. I am not doing anything with my Y chart. The only thing I'm doing is taking my sine wave and picking it up and shifting it to the right a half a pi. Okay. The second one says we're going left a half a pi. So if you think about starting at 0, 0, now we're going left a half a pi. If we're at half a pi and we're going left, we're at 0. Everything is picking up and shifting to the left a half a pi. Again, there's nothing right now happening with the Y values. This is only with the X values. This last one is shifting to the right a full pi. So if I'm normally at 0 and I'm going to the right a full pi, I'm starting at pi. And everything else is going to end a full pi later. So a phase shift is just shifting it left or right, but it's opposite of what you think. So in summary, we are going to add or subtract a number. But where is that? Inside the function. Okay? So if we talk about all the parts now to A, B, C, and D. A is our amplitude, and that affects the Y. D is our vertical shift, and that also affects the Y side of my T-chart. B has to do with the period, and C has to do with the horizontal shift. Both of these have to do with the X part of your graph. So that's very important when you're starting to keep everything organized. Now, there's a small twist to this. Notice, for now, there was nothing inside here but the shift, okay? And the B was 1 for all of these. Well, down here, there's more than just the phase shift, okay? So what we have to do here first is we have to take out or factor out the 4. So now here's my A, my B, and my C, okay? This is a little bit harder to see, okay? But basically what we're trying to do is we need X by itself. So I'm going to take out the half a pi. And when I do that, think about the distributive property. Half a pi times x is a half a pi x. Half a pi times what gives me pi over 4, and that would be a positive 1/2. So now there's my A, there's my B, there's my C. So you need to simplify by factoring. Okay, so that would be the little twist to it all. So I'm going to jump down to example number 3. Notice it is a cosine. So I have my cosine parent chart here. If you can tell me everything about the graph before we do it, it's going to make it a lot more sense. So here is my amplitude of 4. So that's going to affect the y part. It's going to stretch it by 4. And this is going to phase shift or move left 1/4 of a pi. So this affects my x-axis. So I'm going to do the y side first, multiply everything by 4, and then I'm going to do my x-axis and move everything to the left 1/4 of a pi. So if we normally start at 0, now we're at negative 1/4. If we're at 1/2 minus 1/4, now we're at positive 1/4. 1 pi minus 1/4 is 3/4 of a pi. 1 1/2 minus 1/4 is 1 1/4, which is 5/4. And 2 minus 1/4 is 1 3/4, or 7/4. So now when I go to graph it, I am going to go 4 high and 4 low. Okay, typically we are at 2 pi, but everything is shifting over by 1/4, so now I'm at negative 1/4. So when I go to graph this, and remember it's cosine, everything shifted to the left 1/4 of a pi. My period, though, still went from negative 1/4 to positive 1 3/4. It's still 2 pi. It just shifted. My amplitude is as high as 4 and as low as 4. My domain is from negative infinity to positive infinity, and my range is from negative 4 to positive 4. So let's look at example 6. Again, tell me everything you possibly can. First of all, it's a cosine graph. Second of all, the amplitude is 1/3. We have a problem here though, right? What do we need to do? We have to take out or factor out that half a pi first. So when I factor out that half a pi, now think about the distributive property. Half a pi times what gives me a half a pi x? Half a pi times what gives me a 1. So B is a half a pi. C is going to the left 1. Period equals 2 pi over B, and B is 1/2. In other words, 2 pi divided by half of a pi, or 2 pi times 2 over pi. And this gives me 4 pi over pi, or just 4. So the period is done at 4. I can answer that already. I can answer my amplitude already. And technically, I could do my domain and my range because there is no other shifting up or down. So it looks like I am going with a period of 4. However, I'm shifting to the left 1. So if I make my cosine chart, I normally have a period from 0 to 4 this time. However, I'm shifting everything to the left 1. So this is now negative 1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. So I need a negative 1 over here. My amplitude for cosine normally is at 1. However, it's shifting by thirds. So now I have the point 1/3, negative 1, 1/3, 0, 0. And my cosine wave shifted to the left